Good morning. So this video is going to be a little bit different than my other videos. I'm going to attempt to make a cake. Okay, not just any cake. So it's my niece's 7th birthday, and I always make my niece's birthday cakes for them, and she wants a Minecraft cake. So I'm going to attempt to make this Minecraft cake. Now, with that said, I'm not completely new to making fancy cakes. My son is 24 years old, and I have been making cakes like when they were kids for him since he was 1. I did take a little bit of a cake course, you know, to improve my skills. But I, like, by no means am I a professional. You know, I've made many cakes over the years. Some of them have turned out like adorable, really good, like I'm super proud of them. And then there are some that are like, were complete fails and were embarrassing, but you know, I served them anyway because I put the work into them, and that's just the way it's going to be. So not only do I like to go on car trips, I also like to cook and bake and do crafty things. And so I thought I would vlog the Minecraft cake for you guys. And Zoe would be completely embarrassed about this. She's not here, she's at school today, but I'm going to say it. Come along for a trip through my kitchen. Let's go. So I'm just using a Betty Crocker super moist white cake. And I mean, they're just as good as homemade, in my opinion. So dump it in. Add your ingredients. So the box says 3 eggs and oil. It says 3 egg whites or 3 just eggs. I'm just doing the eggs. I'm not doing the egg whites. And then oil. So we need 1/2 cup of vegetable oil, canola oil, same diff. And then it asks for 1 cup of water or 1 cup of milk. I'm going to use milk because I am not using, I usually always use water because it makes a lighter, fluffier cake. But if you use milk instead of water, it makes the cake denser, and I need a denser cake because I'm not using cupcake liners. I need, you know, a sturdier cake, I guess. So I'm using 1 cup of milk instead of 1 cup of water. And then I just mix it by hand. I'm sure some people like to use a mixer. I always find that this just works fine. I also already pre-oiled and floured my pan. You can use parchment paper, which I usually do, but for today I want a little bit of a crust, I guess, on the cake because I need something denser because I'm not using the cupcake liners. So yeah, just I usually just take some shortening, put some on a napkin, wipe the pan down, and then add a little bit of flour, spread the flour all around, and then it'll hopefully make it so that your cake will not stick to the pan when it comes out. But I usually use parchment paper. I preheated my oven to 350. And yeah, see, I'm done already. Like, it's super quick. Here's the pan. I'm just gonna pour that all in there. I'm going to be cutting these up into, I think 15 squares, 15 or 16. Because it's a Minecraft cake, we don't want circles, obviously, because Minecraft is all about pixels. I like to use a scraper to make sure that every single last cake piece is used up, like cake batter, not cake piece. Spread that around a little bit. We're gonna stick that in the oven. It says 28 to 30 minutes. I underestimated how much cake I was gonna need for this cake, and I don't feel like running back to town. It's minus 20 outside to get some more cake mix. So I Googled simple chocolate cake recipe, and I'm using the first one that I seen because that's the way I roll. I mean, chocolate cake is chocolate cake, right? And yeah, so I'm going to make that. So it asks for 2 cups of sugar, which honestly seems like a lot of sugar, but I don't know, I'm gonna go with it. And then it asks for 1 3/4 cup flour, 3/4 cup cocoa. I probably should have sifted that. I just thought of that, but I didn't, so that's the way it's gonna be. 2 teaspoons of baking soda, 1 3/4 cup of baking powder, 1/2 teaspoon of salt, and then mix that all up. And then we're going to add our wet ingredients. So for the wet ingredients, we are adding 2 eggs. So 2 eggs, 1 teaspoon of vanilla. I found out that the cap is about 1 teaspoon. So that's what I always do. 1/2 cup of oil, 1 cup of milk. And then it says to mix that all up. And after you do this, like after you mix everything up, you're supposed to put in 1 cup of boiling water. My water's boiling right now. And it says the batter's gonna be thin, but that's okay. That's the way it's supposed to be. 1 cup of boiling water. Throw that in there. Okay, and then we're gonna put that in our greased and floured pan and throw it in the oven. It says for about 35 to 40 minutes. So my white cake is done. Comes out clean on the knife. Let's try that again. So that's how we know it is ready. And then I'm going to put it on one of these things. I bought these a long time ago and I love them. They're just like a cake rack and it boils. It cools the cake down quite nicely rather than just it sitting in the pan. So I like to kind of scrape, because I didn't use parchment paper, it doesn't come out as easy. So I like to just kind of take a knife, loosen the cake up, kind of shake it a little bit. And then what I do is I take this, you just kind of flip it like that. Hopefully this isn't an utter fail. And I go like that. Let's see how it turned out. Nice. I have my white cake, and we're gonna let those completely 100% cool before putting the icing on them. My cakes are baked. They're just cooling. I'm gonna make the icing in a second, but you also have to, like when you're making a nice pretty cake, you have to have something to lay it on that doesn't, you know, look stupid. And so I usually, what I do is I usually just take like a cookie sheet and then I cover the cookie sheet with whatever the cake is, like a theme, you know, like once I made like a balloon cake and I covered it in blue for the sky and, you know, that kind of stuff. And so today I just decided to use brown craft paper. So yeah, I just covered it up, taped it up. I'm going to be using 2 cookie sheets because it's the sword, so I feel like it's going to, you know, take up 2 cookie sheets. I probably could have also used green, would have worked really well for Minecraft, but I didn't have green on hand, and so this is what we're using. So yeah, very easy. They're just, and the reason why I use cookie sheets is just because it's solid, especially for transporting. I guess if you're just staying at home, it wouldn't matter if you put it on cardboard or whatnot. But when I'm transporting, I like to make sure that it's, you know, not going to completely fall apart. I'm going to make the icing. Now with the icing, I do use an electric mixer because it's important to make sure it's nice and cream. So the recipe that I use is the Wilton method of cake decorating from that book. It's when I took the cake courses. I love this recipe. I will link that recipe down below. But yeah, let's make buttercream. So I'm just going to share a little bit of tips that I was told in my cake courses. So the recipe asks for 1 cup of solid white shortening. The reason why they ask for the shortening is because it makes your buttercream white, like white, 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 white. So if you're wanting just a white buttercream, use that. But my instructor also said that it tastes better if you use butter. But the butter yellows the buttercream, right? If you're wanting a white buttercream, just use shortening. If you have to add color to your buttercream, which I do, you can use butter. The trick that I have kind of found over the years is that if you're looking for a white buttercream, but you don't want to lose the flavor, because butter does taste better than the shortening, I use half a cup of white shortening and half a cup of butter. So you're not losing completely on the flavor, but you're still using the shortening to make it somewhat white. You need to use shortening and butter, not margarine, because if you want the buttercream, when you're decorating, if you want the buttercream to stay at a nice consistency for decorating, you need to use butter or / and shortening. So the first thing we do is we cream that up. The vanilla will also make it so your buttercream isn't that white, but again, that's only important if you need your icing color to be white. 7 to 8 teaspoons, but again, this is all dependent on how dry it is where you live. So I'm going to start, I think, with 6. We let that cream for a while. I always make sure, you know, you gotta scrape the sides down every once in a while. The reason why I'm doing white and chocolate is because I'm not using cupcake liners, and cupcake liners will, you know, make the outside of your cake the color that you're wanting it to be, or cupcake or whatever. But I'm not using cupcake liners because I need squares, not rounds. So I'm making a sword, so I wanted to use the chocolate cake for the handle part and the white part for the actual sword part. Icing sugar time. The recipe calls for 4 cups of icing sugar. I always only put in 1 cup at a time, and then I will mix it and do that for all the 4 cups. So I'm on my last cup. I didn't show all the cups being put in. This is the 4th cup of icing sugar. And once the last cup has been put in, I usually like beat it for, you know, 2, 3, 4 minutes to make it nice, light, and fluffy. Okay, the icing. I did end up using an extra 4 teaspoons of water. It's very dry air up here. The thing of it is that you want it to be a good consistency. Like, you don't want it to be so stiff that you can't, you know, maneuver it when you're decorating, but you don't want it to be runny either. So this, I feel like, is a very good consistency. Yeah. So there's our buttercream. It is very white, which is nice, but we're going to be coloring it here pretty quick. Also need the cakes to be the same size height wise, right? So that it looks nice and perfect. It's not gonna look perfect. You know what I mean. Let me introduce you to this tool. So when I took those cake courses, I learned so much about things that I didn't even know existed. But this little tool from Wilton will cut your cake to the, like, you know, this, it will make it nice and even, the same height as everything. So I'm just going to kind of show you how to use that. I have my cake here. It's nice and cooled. So what you're going to do is you want to adjust these wires to the height of the cake that you want. Of course, I want it as high as I possibly can. 6. And then I check it to see if it's going to work. I feel like I can probably go up one more to a 5. And I feel like that will be good. So then you take it and you just make sure it stays on your surface. And you just go back and forth. And it's going to cut your cake all the way across and make it even. So another good thing that this thing can do is if you put it at the very, very bottom at number 9, it will also cut, you know, nice and straight all the way down. So if I have a 5 here, so I can put that here and then 5 here. And then that way I can just go down and it cuts nice and straight all the way across. So I cut them all up, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20. I actually made like 26, but I want to use the best of the best, right? So nice and square ones. So this is a nice one. You know, like this one, obviously it's kind of skinny and isn't perfect and lopsided. So I'm going to choose 15 of the best. So it was requested that I fill these cupcakes with icing. Sounds complicated. It's the easiest thing in the world. So I will show you what we need for that. Another trick that I learned in these cake courses is to fill your bags. Put them over a glass like this. And that way, when you put your icing in, it doesn't get all over on the sides. That should be plenty. And then when you pull it up, it doesn't get on, you know, the edges of your bag. So yeah, see how I just kind of put that in there like this? Wait, sorry guys. Right? I just cut a hole in the bag, stuff that in there. And then we're going to get that, squeeze that in. I have 16 of the best squares. And all you have to do is stick it in the middle and squeeze. And that's it. And that's how you fill them. It is like the easiest thing. People think you're so magical when you do it. But that's it. You just squeeze and get your icing in there. So I've placed my white ones. I'm still working on the brown ones, the chocolate ones. But it's basically you want 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 straight in the line. And then you kind of build 2, 2, 2, 2, and 2 around that. And that makes the sword. There will be one more white one in the middle for the jewel, like in the middle of the chocolate. But yeah, so far that's what we've got. Okay, so I did the exact same thing to the chocolate as I did to the vanilla. So I made it the same height. I cut them 5 by 5 centimeters. I filled them with icing, and then I placed them, and this is what the final results looks like. You can tell that these ones got filled with white buttercream icing. it doesn't matter. It's all gonna be hidden afterwards. I did try to put like the edge cake on the outside and more of like the one that didn't have edges on the inside for like to kind of help with the drying out process. Because like, see, this one has no edge. This one does. I don't think this one will dry out, but I'm kind of worried about this one. We'll see. I mean, it is going to be what it's going to be. I also have, because this is a long cake, and I'll measure it for you guys in a second and let you guys know, but I have to use 2 cutting boards, but I placed it so that for transporting, if you're not transporting, I guess it doesn't matter. So I can just kind of remove it like this, and then I can, you know, decorate them, and then it can just kind of be put right back like that. So now we're going to color our icing or buttercream. We have a little bit more blue icing that I need to do than the chocolate, so I put a little bit more of the for the blue icing in this one, but they're pretty much half and half, a little bit more. Use the gel food coloring, not the liquid. These will give you such a more like vibrant color to your icing. It makes an insane amount of difference. Get these. I don't know if you can buy these at your local grocery store. I go to Michael's or like a specialty cake store. They're not too expensive. I feel like they're worth the price. So I need to do 2 shades of turquoise. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make this one. So you just take a toothpick, kind of stick it in there. You don't need much. One of the advice that was given to me as well at the cake courses was not to contaminate it with more icing. So once you dip your toothpick in here, do not tip the toothpick back in here that has icing on it, because it's going to rot your icing, right? Because it's food that you're putting in there. So I feel like that should be enough for this color. I might put a little bit more, but not by much. Just kind of scrape it on there. And then you just take a spoon. I'm going to move this out of the way for a second. You just take a spoon and you mix it up until it changes color. The longer you let it sit, the longer, or the like deeper your colors will get. I tried that chocolate cake, by the way. It's really good. You know, like a good chocolate cake. The cake is 26 inches long by 15 inches wide. So you're going to need something to place it on there as big as that. We're just going to do that. So then we're going to decorate the cakes that we need to with the lighter turquoise color, and then we'll come back and add more of the same food coloring to make it darker. Ready to put, and we're going to ice make. Another reason why I like these is because you can just throw them away when you're done. But I will show you how to do this in case you don't know. So you get your tip. This is, I'm using tip 32. You need one of these and you need one of these. So what you do is you place this on top of that, like that. You're going to take your bag. Okay, you shove it in there. And then you're going to take your knife and you're going to cut where the tip is, about halfway up the tip. Okay, like that. And then you just pull this off. You take your little, I don't even know what they're called. You stick it on there and you twist. Okay, like that. And I'm going to use about a little less than half, I think. We'll start with that. Squeeze the icing down, squeeze the icing down, and squeeze the icing down, and then we're going to go decorate. So we are decorating with the lighter turquoise, this one, and then all the middle ones, all the way up. This is super easy. Squeeze, release, squeeze, release. I'm sure there's a whole bunch of different tips that you could use. Okay, so I finished that up. Just kind of looks like this. So I did the one here. I did separate the 2 cutting boards so I can place them after when I deliver. And then I did 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I'm just gonna squeeze all the rest back in here. We're gonna add some more of the turquoise, the same color. We just wanna make it darker. As long as you kind of take care of them and don't put icing in them, I feel like they last forever. You will get stained hands, but that's just part of the process. So these cake courses that I took were Michael's, the craft store. I'm not sure if they still do them or not. I have no idea. It was quite a few years ago now. I want to say probably 7, 8 years ago that I took them. I was always interested in cake making, and then I just thought, oh, I'll just take this cake course. It was like, I think I had 4 classes, 5 classes. Most of it I would never use again. It's like the gum paste and the fondant and stuff. But I would say the first 2 classes, I learned like so much. And I understand that we have YouTube and all of that stuff these days, but I don't know. I would recommend doing one because I just learned so much. So yeah, see, now it's darker. And that's gonna be for the other ones. So I'm going to fill my bag and get back to you. So we're gonna do the exact same thing. And these will darken, like it doesn't really look like there's much of a color contrast right now, but there will be. These darken, the gels. The one thing about these gels is if you ever use black, it does actually get your icing black, but it tastes absolutely horrible, like horrible. So I don't recommend using it unless you really, really need it. I would just go out and actually buy black icing from the store. But other than that, yeah, gel paste, I don't know, gel food coloring is where it's at. So I'm kind of just filling in the gaps, as you can see, right? Like to make it look like it's all one cake and not cupcakes. I know they're not technically cupcakes. These are great because we call them pull apart cupcake cakes. And so the kids just kind of grab a cupcake and away they go. There's no, cutting and serving and all that stuff. But yeah, it's looking really good. I'm gonna get this corner. I'm gonna do one more. So you just kind of stick it in the middle, squeeze, release, squeeze, release, squeeze, release. It is really, really super easy, you guys. There's not much to it. I feel like anybody can do this. Like, if you get your measurements right on your cakes, it's really, when you cut them and everything, like, I don't know. To me, I find this easy. And I feel like anybody could do it. And this is why I always say, like, I don't feel like I'm a professional cake maker. Everybody's like, oh, you're so good, which I don't think I am. Because I feel like it's easy. Like, it's not rocket science, the cakes that I make. I always go for simple cakes. I cannot make, those fancy dancy 5-tier layered cakes that are like, I don't know, fondant, and there's characters, and I don't do that. I do the easy peasy simple ones. And sometimes the simple ones are just kind of the cutest, in my opinion. So yeah, this has turned out really good. I'm going to sign off for a bit and continue working on this. Okay, so I finished the blue. Now we have to do the chocolate. I do have a little bit left over, which I'm just going to use on the leftover cake that I had for my family. This one I am now throwing out the bag once I'm done with it, because you don't want brown and blue to be mixed up. So yeah, let's make the chocolate. Now we could use cocoa for a better flavor, I'm not going to use cocoa because I want it to be like more of a dark, like it's more about the color than the taste right now. It will still taste good, it just won't have that chocolate taste. So yeah, I'm just using just brown. Mix that up. So another thing with this buttercream recipe is it will stiffen once it's out in the air. So your decorated cakes will be like stiff. I don't know how else to explain it. Not stiff, like so dried out like royal icing, but it will stay put, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. This does not look super brown, but it will darken. I know I've said that before. I remember when I first started working with these gels, like, oh yeah, it will darken, and I was doing black, and at the time I didn't know that it was gonna, red as well is not great. See how it says red, no taste? I think it was the red I don't know if you guys can see that. It says it's red, no taste red. It's not no taste, it tastes horrible. But I used so much red because I was like, this is looking pink, it's looking pink. These don't work. And then I let it sit on the cake for like 2 or 3 hours. And yeah, it was red. And I kept using it and using it and using it because it wasn't darkening. And it was, I had way too much on there. So maybe that's why it didn't taste great too, is because I used so much of it. But yeah, so we're going to do this. We're going to put this in our bag using the same tip, but a different bag. So wash your tip, obviously. And then we will finish decorating the cake. Okay, and then we're going to do exactly the same thing for the blue as we did for the handle of the sword. You can buy reusable icing bags. I've used them before. It's obviously better for the environment, and it's, you know, more cost effective. They last like forever, but to be honest, they're a little bit inconvenient, especially when you're using more than one color, because you have to wash them and then you have to dry them, and then they're just, yeah, it's so much. I know this is horrible, but it's just so much easier just to throw them away, especially when you're using more than one color like I am today. If I was only using one color, I would have used my reusable bag, because I started this, I think it was almost 9 o'clock, and it is now 11:30. So even though I'm sure this video is like not that long, it literally takes me about 4 hours, depending on the cake, beginning to end. You know, that includes the, you know, the cooking, the baking, the cooling of the cake, like, but it's, yeah, it's not a quick thing making cakes. That's why I completely understand why you have to pay like over $100 sometimes for a cake that's, you know, when you actually pay a professional. I'm not a professional to make a cake for you. I get it, because it's like, it's time consuming. It takes a long time. And that's, you know, I'm what, 3.5 hours in. I'm not done yet. I am almost done, but I also made a huge mess. So that I also consider takes part of the time, is the cleanup. Okay, so there's the cake. It looks beautiful. I have these hanging out here. I have my bag, my scissors, and bowls. There's my other one. I've got things out. Like I still haven't put the icing sugar away. My mixing bowl's still there. Yeah, like there's my vanilla, you know, I make a mess. Oh, and then that doesn't even include the island. So yeah, this will take me a bit to clean up. Look, this is for my family. They got the ugly ones. Still tastes good though. So yeah, I'm gonna clean up, and then we'll see what else happens in this video. So I ended up just going online and finding like a free Minecraft happy birthday thing. and kind of put it at the bottom, but this is what the final result looks like. Look how cute. The brown will get darker. So yeah, I'm pretty happy with it. I hope my niece is happy with it too.
It was pretty good.
The chocolate.
I didn't have the boxed one.
I mean, the chocolate
Like,
one.
I didn't try one.
It's because the chocolate one was the only one that mattered.
Yeah, also I don't like vanilla, so.
But wasn't it cute? Like, the cake was super cute. I was really happy with it. And I think she was really happy with it too. All right. So now for real, we're going to continue with our
RV life.
going to
Victoria?
Yeah. All right. So the next video you will see is that one. And we will...
It's the end of the road, actually.
Oh,
it's not
wait.
really the end of the road.
It's the end of the... It's the end of... Oh, how can I be cheesy? Of the voyage in my kitchen. Right?
Yeah.
See you later.